expect to see that in your inbox tomorrow from greatbasinguardian@gmail.com. And I think I want to just turn it over to Vivian now, the star of our show. So thank you so much for coming, and please take it away.
Aviva, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who's here tonight. It's a pleasure to see so many people excited about the eclipses coming up. I'm going to share my screen, get started. Let's see. There you go. You able to see that? I think I've lost all of you, so feel free to put things in the chat and I can see those. So that's a good start.
And Vivian, let me just, I was going to say, yes, we can see it. And one thing I forgot to say, I apologize, is that if any time during the presentation you guys have any questions at all, please throw them into the Q&A, which you'll see down at the bottom, hopefully at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can also throw things in the chat. I know that Vivian's going to ask you all some questions, so you can answer those in the chat. And we'll try to get to all the questions and at the end of the program. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'll just get started then. I know many of you are here tonight because you're excited to hear about the upcoming eclipses. I hope that's why you're here. If not, I hope to make you excited about these upcoming eclipses, and in particular, the one that's about to happen. So I put this URL on the first slide because I sometimes will sit here for a minute getting started, but it'll also be available later and we'll add it to the YouTube recording. So don't feel like you have to write everything down. We have two eclipses coming up, and they are both very exciting and also very different. So I want to tell you a little bit about what's coming up. This is pretty much what we're going to cover today. We've got the annular eclipse that's coming in October 14th, and then a total eclipse that I'll tell you about that doesn't come right through Great Basin, but it is worth a mention anyway. So I'll give you lots of resources for being able to view it from home or from wherever you are. And I'll start off just by introducing myself. I'm Vivian White. I work at the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, which is in San Francisco, California. I live just across the bay in Berkeley, California, which is on Ohlone land that's unceded, and they still live here on this land right next to us. So we are excited to be able to share it with them these days. I have been, let's see, my first eclipse that I saw was an annular eclipse, just like the one that's coming through Great Basin. That's the top left. We were in at, where was it? Pyramid Lake, sorry, not far from you all. And it came through. I went with a group from UC Berkeley who were talking all about solar wind, and we had an amazing time there. I'm there on the far left, and that's my kid on my hip, who was not even 1 year old at the time. Since then, I have become enamored with eclipses, and I have seen many of them. In particular, the one on the bottom right was the one in 2017. Did anyone get to see the 2017 solar eclipse? You can post where you were, if so, in the chat. If you got to see that, that changed a lot of people, I think, and made a lot of Umbraphiles or Eclipsophiles happening in the US. Great. Oh, I knew some of you would have been there. Wonderful. Well, then you know what you're in store for and how exciting this is about to be. On the bottom right, that's my kid, a little bit older, and my Ace was 6, and my grandfather was there with me, and he was 93. So we had 4 generations there enjoying the eclipse, and my grandfather's since passed, and I know that this is a memory that my kid's going to hold on to forever because it meant so much. And we'll talk a little about total eclipses later. I've had the immense privilege and pleasure to be able to talk about eclipses all over the world now. On the bottom left, I'm down in Chile, and then in the center here, just this December, I was in Bhutan, and that was a real joy. One of my joys in life is to travel, and so I am very excited. Eclipses allow me to do an awful lot of traveling, and that's one of my joys. I also love to do pottery and ride my bike and garden, so that's what takes up most of my time when I am not chasing the shadow of the moon. So a quite a few of you have talked about, oh, the slides aren't changing. Oh, okay, I hope that one just changed. Quite a few of you talked about where you were during the 2017 eclipse. For those of you who didn't get to see the 2017 eclipse, perhaps you've seen another eclipse. And if so, you may have seen one that looked like the one on the left, or one that looked like the one on the right. And those are two very different kinds of eclipses. We'll just go over that pretty quickly. There's a solar and a lunar eclipse, and they both happen when the sun and the moon and the earth line up and a shadow is cast. And they look very different, and your chance of seeing them is very different. And we're going to talk a little bit about why. The two basic types of eclipses. We have a solar eclipse and we have a lunar eclipse. So on top there, this is of course not to scale, but this is the basic geometry of what's going on. The solar eclipse that we'll be seeing, the sun causes the moon to cast a shadow on the earth. And a lunar eclipse, the opposite happens. The earth's shadow is cast on the moon, and it's a very simplified diagram. So just to tell the difference, if you look at the top one, you will see that the shadow of the moon is much smaller than the shadow of the earth, even though this isn't to scale. That's still true. And you'll see that the people on the daytime side of the earth see a solar eclipse. So you see a solar eclipse during the day, as opposed to below the lunar eclipse. You have to be on the nighttime side of Earth to see a lunar eclipse, but the entire nighttime side, if it's clear, gets to see a lunar eclipse. So that's a bonus. They each happen on average twice a year, sometimes a little bit less, but they happen quite often. You'll see a lunar eclipse more often, you'll notice, because the entire nighttime side of the globe gets to see it, as opposed to a solar eclipse where you have to be in the right place at the right time. So I will share one of my favorite tweets. This is from Katie Mack. This kind of reminds us what we're doing. If you see the bottom one, we are in big trouble. We have not gotten there yet. But I think of this as a simple way to remember what kind of eclipse, if you get those confused. I know that often happens when you're first getting introduced to eclipses. I try and remember which one gets darker. So in a solar eclipse, the sun gets dark, and in a lunar eclipse, the moon gets darker. This is by an astrophysicist and science writer, Katie Mack. So the good news is we have two solar eclipses coming up, and I'm going to tell you all about those. In North America, all of North America will get to see these solar eclipses. The paths of annularity and totality, where the central part of the eclipse is, are shown here. The first one happens on Saturday, October 14th, and that is called a ring of fire, or an annular eclipse. That's that dark stripe on the left in the western half of the US, and the one that's coming right through the corner of Nevada where you all are. The second one is a total eclipse, and this is the kind of eclipse that we saw in 2017. It's the breathtaking, awe-inspiring one where in the middle of the day it gets dark, and it is very different than any other eclipse you will ever see. It only takes a few hours for the moon's shadow to get from the Pacific to the Atlantic, or in this case, the Gulf of Mexico. So you can't chase it. You have to pick a spot and hope that it's clear out. So you can watch the partial eclipse safely from anywhere in the continental US, as well as Puerto Rico. Alaska and Hawaii are not as well positioned for these eclipses, but we'll talk about now the difference between the two. So the annular eclipse on the top left is a picture of, well, a clouded out annular eclipse, but this is called a ring of fire eclipse, and this is allowing, what happens is the moon is just a little bit too far away from us to cover the sun perfectly. Now, there's this wonderful coincidence that the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, but it's also 400 times closer than the sun. And they just happen to line up. They happen to be about the same size in the sky, but the moon's distance does vary slightly. And sometimes it's just a little bit too far away. So let's see, I can't see you, which is a bummer. But what I like to do is, did you ever as a kid do the I can't see your face kind of thing with your thumb where you're smushing someone's head? The annular eclipse happens when the moon is just a little bit, I'll do it from your perspective, a little too far away to cover my whole Earth face. So you get this ring of fire right around the outside where the sun still shows around the outside. The central picture here is a partial eclipse, and everybody, like I said, in the US will get to see a partial eclipse if it's clear. And then on the right-hand side is this total eclipse. So I've got a little diagram here that gives a little bit more information. The total here on top, the annular happens because the moon is just a bit further away. Again, these are not to scale, but the geometry works out. And then the partial is when we're just in this, what they called the penumbra, the outside of the shadow of the moon. So the entire moon is not covering the sun from our perspective. All right, so let's see, like I say, everybody gets to see it. And while you won't get those moments of the middle of the night and the middle of the day, the entire country gets to see these two partial eclipses. And you'll notice that it gets somewhat darker and shadows start to get really crisp when this happens. The partial eclipse lasts quite a long time, just about 3 hours, depending 2 to 3 to 4 hours even for some people. And during this phase, you want to make sure to never look directly at the sun. I'm going to show you various ways to observe the phenomenon, but this is really important. So during a partial eclipse, all the way leading up to a total and even right after a total, and all the way through an annular eclipse, you never look directly at the sun. You also will have lots of live stream happening from all over the country. So if you are in a part of the country that gets clouded out, you're welcome to hop on a live stream. The Exploratorium has one, NASA will have one, we'll have a lot of them up. You will, if you are anywhere on social media or any sort of news outlet, you will definitely get to see at least a video of it if it gets cloudy. So how do you view it? There are quite a few methods of viewing it, and I'm going to go over a few of the very simple ones. You need very few tools. And even on the path of annularity and totality, these are going to be really useful to you because those moments, if you're right on the path, right as the moon passes in front of the sun, that's very brief. And the rest of the day, you're going to get to enjoy that partial. So we're going to talk about 3 different ways to view the solar eclipse, and we'll start with projection. And this picture here is pinhole projection. You can just poke a hole in a sheet of paper, and down here at the bottom, you'll get a tiny image of the sun. So as the sun starts to get covered by the moon, you will start to see it. I'll show you what that looks like. Let's see. Oh, there's lots of ways of making pinhole projection. And it can be done anywhere you are by making just a small hole in some particular way. So you'll see on the bottom right here, these are the shadows between the leaves of a tree. This is probably how people first noticed a partial eclipse was happening, because the light changes a little bit, but it's maybe like a cloudy day. It's not totally noticeable. You kind of might notice something's a little bit off, but you wouldn't know there was an eclipse happening until you look down at these shadows that are going on, and you'll see that each of the what are usually round dots of a projected image of the sun are now these little crescents, and they start to change in shape as the eclipse gets deeper and deeper. You can make these with your hands. You can make these with a tiny mirror, or again, just punching a hole in there. We like to take a little piece of just a little piece of cardboard or cardstock and put words. You can poke your name with holes and then make a pinhole projection of your name or the date or anything you'd like. And that's a nice way to take a picture and remember what's going on. You do have quite a while before and after to play around, so make sure to have something fun to do. All right, let's see. Oh, you can try this at night if you want to try it in advance of the eclipse. Try this at night with street lights. You can notice through the leaves, the street lights will make a projection of the light that is up in the light itself, but then also you can try it with a pinhole projection and see what happens. It's pretty cool. A lot of the street lights lately are made up of many smaller LEDs, and you'll get a projection of those, which is fascinating. That's pretty neat to see. All right. So that's one way to show it safely. You are able to project the sun with tools, but I want you to be incredibly careful about this method of viewing. So this involves binoculars or a very small telescope. This is absolutely not viewing the sun directly through binoculars. You will burn your eye. And that's not a maybe, that's a definitely. If you carefully cover all but one of the lenses of a pair of binoculars, you are welcome to project the image, but this requires someone standing there and actually being very careful that no one walks in between to just put their eye up to it. If you want to do a very terrifying demonstration, you can take a pair of eclipse glasses and put them behind one of those eyepieces and watch as it burns a hole in the eclipse glasses. So just be incredibly careful. This is a way to project the sun, but it requires constant monitoring. You don't want to leave it unattended, but it does make an amazing projection of the sun. It's great to use an old pair of binoculars or a magnifying glass, and you can shine that so that it projects onto a cardboard piece, a white piece of paper. Again, please be very careful if you do this. I do not recommend doing this if you're going to have a lot of kids around, and certainly not leaving it unattended. Okay, and then maybe the way that most people know most easily is to observe directly using either eclipse glasses or number 14 welder's glasses. Don't combine two number 7 welder's glasses. That's not how it works, and it's not safe. So I'll give you some links to the solar filter options where you can find them. There are quite a few reasonable ones. You can usually get them for a couple dollars. A lot of people are buying them and then selling them as, say, part of a band fundraiser for school or things like that. So you can think about creative ways to use those. I think we're doing that in my kids' class. Safe solar viewing glasses, you do want to make sure that they are ISO rated, and the link that I give you, let's see if I can just throw this in the chat right now. I'll throw that there. I don't know, I think that's just going to host and panelist. Aviva, maybe if you can put that out. I can't change it to everyone, and I'm not sure why. Okay, so there's a link there that Aviva will share. Thank you. So if you are an amateur astronomer, you're able, and you have a telescope or you're interested in it, you can use filtered optics. What you do want to do is make sure the filter goes on the sun end of the telescope. This is the important part. So make sure it fits snugly, make sure that you have the right kind of filters for viewing. And there's special purpose filters on both your precious optics and your precious eyes. More importantly, this is not Mylar. This is not from a balloon. You do need to get these filters specifically from the places that sell them. So if you, okay, we don't have the host. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you so much, Aviva. I don't know why I'm not able to share it with everyone. There you go. These images are credit Rick Feinberg, who is leading the AAS Eclipse Task Force. I want to thank him for quite a bit. So let's see. The filter, yes, make sure to get these filters as far in advance as possible. You probably want to get those now if you haven't already. And they are on that resource page. So thank you so much. So let's talk about the annular eclipse coming up. October 14th, the Western United States is going to be treated to this ring of fire eclipse. And again, for this event, no matter where you are, even if you are on the central path, it is not safe to look directly at the sun at any point. So an annular eclipse, the skies don't get dark. They don't get dark like they do in that really dark moment of a total eclipse, but you can watch this amazing geometry of being right in the path of the moon's shadow. You'll be able to use your solar filters to watch as the edge of the sun starts to disappear, all the way through to when it comes in the middle, right in the very center, and there's what they call the ring of fire. Definitely do not use 3D glasses, Ray. You will fry your eyeballs, and I cannot be held responsible for that. These are images from courtesy of the Great American Eclipse. And I encourage you just to go to greatamericaneclipse.com. They have great state by state. Somebody was asking about Texas, state by state maps of where to go and who's going to be in the path. And they are just wonderful. So let's see, I've got a video from the Fisk Planetarium here. Let's see. Actually, I'll do that at the end if we still have time. All right, so again, about an hour and 15 minutes of your partial eclipse, just 4 or 5 minutes of the annular eclipse, and then another hour and 15 minutes of the partial solar eclipse. And I'm going to give you lots of good ideas on what to do with all that time that you're going to be out watching. So that's what it looks like in succession. Starts with just this tiny bite out, comes all the way across. This was from 2012, I believe. Slew. It can take the good part of a day. So make sure to be prepared with water and sunscreen and all of those. Oh, great. The Great Basin Park's giving away glasses. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about the view from Great Basin, if that's where you are. If that's not where you are, I'm going to stick a link in the chat. And Aviva, you're going to have to help me again with that. Sorry. That'll give you the exact timing for your location. But if you are in or near the Great Basin, these are the times of when it starts. It should start just after 8 a.m. And it's always fun. The kids are always the fastest to check it out when the first little bit is visible. And of the first little inch of the moon coming across the sun, the kids find it first every time because they have better eyes than we do. But it should be right around 8:07. So that's a good time to start looking out for it. Here on the bottom are kind of the really important moments from about 9:24 a.m. to 9:28 a.m. is when the moon will be right in front of the sun, and you'll get this wonderful ring of fire. The eclipse will go on and the sun will move, the moon will move right on past the sun, and it'll end around 10:53. So that's exciting. I think that's all of the information you all need. Oh, one more thing I want to show you. You are positioned in a fabulous spot. There are about 81,000 people in Nevada who are going to be in the path of annularity for this eclipse. Right around Ely and Baker, that has some of the best weather possibilities, we'll call them. You know, it's 50-50 whether the clouds are going to be there or not. You never can tell. But traditionally, you have a very low chance of clouds on October 14th of past years. So you never know. All right, so again, these are on the Great American Eclipse, or somebody else just put nationaleclipse.com. Carolyn, thank you, has also a lot of cities in the path. I encourage you to check both of those places out. Yeah, so this is early in the morning. That's a good point, George. Thank you. The sun's going to be very low in the east. So the site that I just put up there that Aviva just posted will tell you how high it is. What's really nice is it's not too far off. Let me just think. I was preparing for the April eclipse just recently. I'll have to cancel that thought. Yeah, you just have to realize that it's going to be low in the east, and you're going to want a good eastern horizon. That's a very important point. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. All right, what are you going to do for this? So eclipses have been exciting for a very long time. This is the turn of the last century picture on the bottom there, and it's still exciting today. I really encourage you to bring your family and friends to experience it with you. The last time we saw this was in 2017, but the next time, that was for the total solar eclipse of 2017. We'll see another total solar in 2024, and then the next time won't be until 2045. So let's see, the bottom left is from Paris in 1911, and then there was a total eclipse in 1918 that came across the US in a similar pattern. So I encourage you to celebrate this with your friends and family. Go ahead and plan, if you're not going to be at Great Basin National Park, make sure to plan a fun event with your crew. I encourage you to involve your community into the excitement, because most people have never seen an eclipse before, and it is a really memorable event. You don't need a telescope. Like I showed you, you don't even really need the eclipse glasses. You can do the projection method, and that can be really fun. I encourage you. We put together a one-page plan, partial eclipse party. So this has, hopefully you can either grab the QR code or this bit.ly that's on here. This gives you ideas about what to do. Set up some experiments. If you have just a thermometer, noticing the temperature differences that happen, you can have it, the temperature differences monitored. If you put it next to a slow-mo setting on your phone, you can have it watch it as it changes and speed that up. It's kind of fun. You can watch as it goes over other places online. You'll have lots of chances to see what it looks like for other people around the country. Think about fun sun and moon themed music or food and decorations. Anybody have a favorite sun or moon or eclipse song? Or sun or moon food? I am from Tennessee, and moon pies are kind of my favorite. I bring them to every eclipse event, whether people like them or not. Another really cool idea is to create a time capsule or a letter to your future self to open at one of the next eclipses. So that can be really fun if there will be another eclipse coming through. Again in 2045, if you want to open it then, just to talk about what it was like for the community to view the eclipse with you that day. It can be really fun. This is in Grand Canyon National Park in 2012. It was a partial eclipse party. So that is super sunny delight. I love it. Sunny side down eggs. All right, so those are some of the resources I just wanted to tell you about for this October 14th. Again, that's the annular eclipse coming through Great Basin. Yeah, George is talking also about the traffic. You are going to want to plan ahead, and I have a little bit more about that in just a minute. Good point. For the annular eclipse, before I get started on this total eclipse, the annular eclipse is not as big of an event as the total eclipse. This is the one where people will travel from all over the world. This total eclipse happens. People come from around the world. They travel quite a bit farther, because this is the kind of eclipse, if you saw it in 2017, that will change a life. I think of it as kind of second only to childbirth, and just its awe and beauty kind of feeling when you're out, you watch a total eclipse, and you're standing in the middle of wherever you happen to be, on a beach or in a field, and all of a sudden things change. The light gets a little bit different, kind of feels metallic in some way. Everything looks a little bit sharper, and then you can, if you have a good view, you can watch as the shadow rushes towards you, and you look up, and at that point, during a total eclipse, only when the moon entirely covers the sun will you be able to take off your solar viewing glasses. That's the only time in which you can do that, and only for a total. And at that point, you look up, and there's this inky black hole in the sky where the sun just was, and it's dark all around, and the birds are going crazy, and animals are migrating. Things are happening all over. It's an amazing experience, and I encourage you, if you're able, to get to the Path of Totality on April 8th. 2024. This is a Monday. It's after many folks' spring break or right around spring break. If you can make it to one of these, I do encourage you to do that. So this central path is, let's see, about 120 miles wide. And if you can get there, yeah, like I said, most Americans are within a day drive. I will put, oh, that's not going to work. GreatAmericanEclipse.com is where this image is from. And that is also where you can find out the closest way to get there. I want to show you quickly what this looks like from space, because I think that is kind of phenomenal. So this is the moon shadow on an actual image from space. This is part of the EPIC team took this, NASA's, one of the satellites that monitors Earth. It was taken in 2016, and the central shadow can be seen. It moved more than twice as fast as the speed of sound, about 2,000 miles an hour. It just rushes past, and in the very center is where we get the total eclipse. So I'm going to show you, in case you have not gotten to see your own total eclipse, or if you just want to relive this for a second, NPR did a really wonderful review of the 2017 eclipse. It's called One Nation Under the Sun. And I'm just going to play 2 minutes of this, and I want you to just enjoy it for a second. All right.
That's an impressive sight. Here it comes.
Look at the street lights coming on.
A little bit.
Stop it. You see them? The street lights are on. Look, I can see it. It's going. It's almost.
It's almost there!
Oh, wow. Look at that. Whoa. Whoa. I never thought I'd see this. Oh, my God.
Damn. Holy.
This is so crazy.
Wow. Look at how dark it is out here.
Oh, look at the skyline. It looks like nighttime.
It was amazing. Like, you stop.
When that diamond ring came out,
it kind of felt like love.
I heard little crickets come out chirping and all that because it got dark, and I don't know, and I felt the temperature drop.
Celestial things are just beyond comprehension. And when you see one and it's really there, and we're all here,
no matter who you
everybody
were, what your
different.
beliefs were, what your morals were.
Joy
So,
and
Sort of let you see where we sit in the cosmos.
you know, because we all are experiencing life the same way. So,
what color, what political, anything. Everybody's like,
I think it's something we all really need right now. It's just to feel connected in a way.
there was such a camaraderie and friendliness, and we were literally touching and hugging each other.
I bet the whole world was looking up. I bet the whole world was looking up.
Yeah. That was me crying too. Mary, totally. It is, I think they did a great job at capturing it. Yeah, some people are very quiet. And some people get really excited. I couldn't believe they found this much footage without cuss words in it, because I heard a lot of them as the eclipse passed over. I was really thrilled that they were able to capture some of this, just the amazement of it. So yeah, yeah, we'll talk about some of the getting there and getting back. So if this is your first total eclipse, if you go to the path of totality in April 8th, the eclipse is going to last less than 5 minutes, no matter where you are. And you're going to notice all of these effects and the changes in animal behavior, like I was saying, the temperature, the sound. And of course, it gets really, really dark. You're going to see sunset all around you on the horizon. It's wild. It's going to be dark enough you will be able to see stars and planets, which is pretty phenomenal. These are few moments when the moon entirely covers the sun, are the one and only time you may safely look directly at the sun without glasses during the total eclipse. Very few people in the world have ever seen a total solar eclipse before. You will be in rarefied company. So I really recommend that you take the time to enjoy it. Eclipse chasers will tell you it passes before you can even blink an eye. It seems to have passed really quickly. And I encourage you, if this is your first eclipse and you feel like you want to take photos or videos, either set it up well ahead of time and let it do its thing. There are ways to do that. But my advice is don't. My advice is, if it's your first eclipse, enjoy every moment of it. There's no need to record everything. Everyone and their mother is going to be recording this. It is worth just having a moment and realizing your place in the solar system. I encourage that. So let's see. There are a lot of resources that will get you ready for both of these eclipses. NASA has put out quite a few. You can 3D print a projection device. You can get information in Spanish. You can get posters and flyers, and all of those can be found at solarsystem.nasa.gov/eclipses. Or you can take a picture of this QR code, is pretty easy. They are getting ready to prepare everyone for this, whether you're on the path or off the path. Let's see. And I will just share one more slide, and then I have some extras if y'all have questions. This is a project that I'm working on. In the last one, we took a movie of all of them. It was called the Eclipse Mega Movie. And we organized people along the path of totality for 2017. In this year, I am working on a very different one, which is so exciting. This is the NASA Partner Eclipse Ambassador Project. And this is actually to get folks off the path prepared, because we know that many people will be gone when the day comes. So we're trying to prepare people in advance. And we're partnering amateur astronomers or eclipse enthusiasts, that might be you, to partner with undergraduates in your area to prepare your community in advance. And we give you all the training and the glasses and the activities that you can do. There's tons of fun activities. I'll put some links in the chat. It's just eclipseambassadors.org, not hard to remember. But if you want to see if you can find, there might be an ambassador near you. I think that should get you there. I just put a link to the map in the chat, and you can see if there's anyone near you. And I think with that, I've got some other extensions, but I think I'll just stop there and take questions. And George, sounds like you've got a lot of experience too, so feel free to throw in if you have ideas or questions. I'm happy to chat some more, and I'll stop sharing so I can see you.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm glad you were able to share that movie. That was really something special. It's fun to see how we can get just come together in a different way during these astronomical events to show us our place in the universe, right? Our place in the solar system. So let me look. If you have a question, if you'll put it in the Q&A, there's been a wonderful amount of engagement through the chat. So if you threw a question in there a while ago, I'm not going to be able to find it. But I'm going to bring up the Q&A and let's go through those. So there was one question about the logo. I agree, that's such a fun logo. A question about if it will be available on t-shirts, etc. I'm not sure. I think that was designed through White Pine County Tourism and Rec, and I've asked them, but I haven't heard. I know there will be some eclipse-related stuff at the Great Basin visitor centers for sale. So I think there's been enough requests that there should be a shirt, and I hope there will be. Okay, so our next question was hoping that that will provide some advice on camping at the park. Yes, so let me give you a little advice on that. Um, so I basically, when you want to reserve camping at the park, you need to do that 30 days ahead. But I think you should really expect that it's so hard to get a camping reservation, especially like around this event. It's going to be really hard. But there is first come, first serve camping, and there's quite a bit of it. And so that's on Baker Creek campground. So if you have some flexibility and maybe can get out there early, maybe a day ahead or a couple of days ahead, I think you'll have some good luck with finding some first come, first serve camping. And the park also has a list of other places to camp. If the camping is all full, just go to the visitor center and they'll give you a little list. There's some camping in Snake Creek, there's some camping in Baker Creek, and then there's some BLM areas nearby. So I do think you will be able to find camping if you really want it, if you have a little flexibility and are willing to be, not have your plans completely set before you head out. Let's see, our next one. What will the eclipse look like if you're not right on the path? And that was from Bridget. Bridget, I'm not sure if you were asking about the annular eclipse or the total, but why don't you just answer for both of those?
Yes, it looks exactly the same for both. You will have the moon move right in front of the sun, but it will never cover the whole thing nor get into the center of it. So I forgot, I was going to share. Can I share one quick thing? What it will look like. I just grabbed this from Time and Date, which is one of my favorite spots. Somebody put that in the chat earlier. This is, let's see, share. This should get us there. Can you see the sun?
Yes.
This is from Ely, Nevada. There was a question, I think, about it's going to get busy. It will definitely get busy, but this is what the annular eclipse will look like from Ely, Nevada. It'll look very similar from Great Basin National Park. You see the moon comes in front of the sun. It doesn't actually slow down. This is just slowing down the good part. And then the eclipse, the full eclipse will end and it keeps moving on. So for a partial eclipse, it'll look just like that, but the moon will be off to one side. So you can go to timeanddate.com and timeanddate.com/eclipse. And I'm sorry, I'm not able to put that in the chat, but I think you can help with that. And you can look up any city or place you'd like right there, and it will show you exactly what it looks like. So I'll stop sharing now. Good question. And
sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Another question was about whether the eclipse will move from west to east or east to west.
Yes, and I realized I should have just kept that up because there's a really good animation of what it looks like. Yes, and it does move from west to east. Let me go ahead and share once more with feeling. And then, all right, that should get us there. So this is, here we are. Let me see if I can make this full screen and we'll play it here. So this is what the eclipse will look like, moving from west to east. This is I'll pause it for 1 second. This is dawn right here. So it's pretty early still on the West Coast for when this happens. The red spot is the center path as it comes across. And let's see, this is where maybe you get 50% coverage, and here you get even less than 50% coverage, I'm guessing on that, but it should be somewhere right around there. All right. So it comes all the way down through South America, which is pretty darn exciting, and it leaves through Brazil just before it gets dark. So the path, yeah, so that is the answer, I think, to that question that you were asking, William. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that time and date is really helpful, that link for people and might be in other locations. There was a question about Winnemucca, so you could throw that in there and see where you are. As far as specifics about how crowded it will be at Great Basin National Park, or in Ely. I know that the community has, especially, the business community has wanted to make this into a special event to attract tourism. So like that email that I'll be sending out tomorrow, I'll be sending out a link to what different activities or events are happening, not only at Great Basin, but throughout the White Pine County. I would say that, when you're looking at Ely, it is, it's a small town. So if you're able to get a hotel reservation, I wouldn't worry that much about crowds. If you're going to be camping, you always have to worry about whether or not you're going to find that camping spot available. But I think even though it's going to be, somewhat crowded, I still think this area is just not that crowded compared to major city areas. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. That's my personal opinion. I'm not sure. You said, Vivian, you said you're going to be in Ely, right? Is that?
A lot of my team will be in Ely. I'm actually heading to Roatan. I'm going to see it.
Well, that's exciting.
Hey, wait, but George, you said Trudy's is the place to be in Ely because I've got a lot of people heading that direction. Is that true? Oh, Trudy's a person. I was thinking that was like a restaurant. Will not all come to your house, Trudy.
So there's a question about what are fun things for kids to do during and while waiting for the eclipse. I think you probably have lots of answers to that, Vivian.
Oh my gosh, there are so many fun things. So I encourage you, if you go to, let's see, the partial eclipse one pager, it's bit.ly/partial. Oh, here, let me just put this in there. One moment, sorry. I'll stick it in there in a second. There are so many fun things. Those pinhole projectors are really lovely. Also making models of the eclipse. So there's a great model that you can do with a yardstick. The difference between the sun and the moon is in diameter is about 1 to 4. So if you make a 1-inch Earth, I'm so sorry, not between the sun and the moon, between the Earth and the moon, that would be a very different story. So if you make a 1-inch Earth out of clay and you make a 1/4-inch moon that's in diameter across, you can make a model of a solar eclipse. And if you clip them to a yardstick, you could fit about 30 Earths between the Earth and moon. So you would put 30 inches between the two, and then you have a sturdy way of keeping them at about the right distance apart. And you can hand it to kids or adults, this works for everybody, and ask them if they can make a solar eclipse. And having that way to manipulate what's going on, you use the actual sun as the sun, and that works out just great. Or if it's cloudy, you can use a single white bright light bulb. And having activities like that are super fun. There are, having them make a little diary of what time and what the eclipse looks like while they're looking through their eclipse glasses is really neat. That's a fun one. And then just, having sorry, there are lots of different things you can do. Just trying to think. Having them write and talk and describe it. They're going to be sharing it all over Insta or wherever they happen to be, taking selfies, no doubt. It's a great picture opportunity as well. Yeah.
And
in there.
I think it's for all the teachers on this webinar, like this is such a fun thing to prepare your students for. So she'll put it in the chat. I'll send it out here in just a sec, but thank you. A question on the welding glasses. So is number 16 even better than number 14? How does that number system work? Do you know?
Good question. And I don't know. And I'm going to find that answer for you. And I think that I have it right here. I'm going to get back to you in just a second on that. Let me make sure I've got this here.
Okay. Okay. And I'm going to meanwhile get the link you just had in here out.
Awesome.
Okay. The next question after we get the welding glasses one is a really interesting one, which is about other parts of the solar system. So is there total eclipses in other parts of the solar system, or is it unique because of the size distance relationship of the Earth, Moon, Sun? Love that question. Thanks for asking that.
That is an awesome question. Yes. So there are other places that have eclipses, but we are the only place that we know of that has total eclipses. So if you look on NASA for Mars eclipse, you can just look that up. One of the moons of Mars, I can't remember if it's Phobos or Deimos, passes in front of the sun, and one of the rovers took an image of a solar eclipse, but it wasn't, I'm not even going to call it an annular eclipse because there was no ring of fire. It was just this little blurb of a moon coming across the sun. It was more of a transit of the moon. Yeah, so we are the only ones that have that, and we won't have it forever, which is also kind of an interesting thought. The moon is moving away from us at about the same rate that your fingernail grows, about 3 centimeters a year. And at some point in the future, and I forget the exact time they think this is going to happen, there will be no more total eclipses because the moon will have gotten too far. Okay, now I can do it. So if the moon is close enough to you, it will cover my head that can be the sun. But as it moves farther away, you'll see it won't cover the whole thing. You'll get an annular every time, or a partial or an annular every time. So we are in a specific time and place that gets these total eclipses, and we're very lucky.
Yeah, that gives like even more kind of just mysteriousness and awe about this. Thanks for asking that question and answering that. It's really neat. Let's see. So I have in a lunar eclipse a faint glow that remains on the moon. Is that from the sunlight being filtered and bent in the Earth's atmosphere and then projected on the moon?
Exactly. Just like we see the red of sunsets. It's the sunset on either side of the Earth. That's the light that's coming through is filtered with this red filter, and that's why we see it as red. That's a great, excellent figuring. Yeah, the same. I don't know if you all have had some of this smoke in the air. It's the same phenomenon. I know in the West we often do. They've been having it in the East as well now, where the sun will be some days red. That's the same idea. Filters out a lot of the blue light. Yeah.
So just a couple more questions here. So there's another follow-up to the camping, which is as far as viewing from the campgrounds. So since you're going to be looking off more towards the east, once you're out in the Baker area, it's a bit flatter, and I can't remember. I mean, I think, by the time, because we're talking about 10:30, isn't it, in Ely, that it's, do you know what time of day is it reaching the full annular in the Ely?
About 9:30 in the morning.
Oh, is it 9:30?
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be over the mountains in Great Basin and should be fine. But yeah, you're going to want to be maybe not where your campsite is. If you're in the park, you might want to, if you have the opportunity to be there the day before and kind of see where the sun's going to be. It's true that the park itself, has more trees and more kind of mountains that are cutting off your view to the east a little bit more than when you're like, you can look right behind me at my background here. When you're a little bit more in that valley, I would think it's going to be a little bit less obstructed view. I apologize, I can't think exactly of the perfect spot for you at the moment. You'll have to look around a bit. And then there's a question, is it safe to take pictures with your cell phone?
Yes, absolutely. You're not going to see much unless you have a filter on it, though. So I do recommend it'll overexpose it to, I mean, you can try and take a picture of the sun right now with your phone, and that is exactly what will happen. It'll just be a big, bright blob. So if you put your solar eclipse glasses in front of it, that's totally safe to take a picture. And then you can look at your phone, not at the sun, while the glasses are over it. And that is absolutely fine. I found some information on the welding filters. This is on the AAS website. I just put on there the Eclipse Safety website. What they say, and they are They have been working with NASA and the American Optical Association or Society, I can't remember which. They say that the glasses that we have are correspond to a shade 12 welding filter. And the minimum is a shade 15 welding filter. So it sounds to me, and it says solar image in shade 14 or darker is too dim. So 13 and 14 are the ones you want to use for eclipse viewers, as eclipse viewers, yeah. And there's way more information on that site, so they get into a lot of depth.
I see there was actually a couple more questions I had missed, so let me see what I can do here. So get through these, and if you guys are going to say goodbye, we'll catch up with you with the email tomorrow. But for those of you who want to get through a few more questions, there was a question about organized watch parties at Great Basin National Park. There will be rangers that, like a different participant said, there will be viewing glasses that are available for free at the visitor center. And there will be different rangers that will be spread out, I think, in different locations of the park that will be kind of doing impromptu viewing parties. And there was a question about how far across the sky will the sun move from the start to the end, because it does take like a couple hours from the very start to the very end, right? So it is going to come up a bit.
So let's see. If you hold your arm all the way out and you put, let's see, this is about 25 degrees. It will move, let me just think. So a little bit more. So if you stick your arm all the way out and you stretch your fingers as wide as you can, it'll move a little bit more than that. Maybe that and a smidge. So that's our sky measuring, kind of a quick and dirty method of sky measuring. That's about 25 degrees across the sky. So in about 4 hours, it will have moved maybe closer to, let me just get this right. Sorry, I don't want to, my math at the end of the day is a tricky thing on recording. I'll do a little bit of math and let you know how many degrees it'll have moved. 15 minutes is about 2 degrees. Yeah, probably about that much.
Okay.
More.
George in the chat is estimating 20 degrees.
28 degrees. Thank you, George. 25, and we're gonna go with that. If you have shorter arms or bigger hands, we'll go for 28.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Vivian, for making the time to meet our attendees and to get everyone excited about the upcoming eclipse. I love the idea of doing the watch party, sharing it with your friends and your community, having fun activities for kids. So thank you so much for sharing all this stuff. And everyone who joined us today, thank you for joining us. And I hope you have a wonderful eclipse. The last thing I just want to let everyone know is we have one other virtual lecture, which is similar to this, but a slightly, the speaker will be speaking about slightly different things. And that's in 2 weeks on September 12th. And that's going to be Andrea Jones. She's the public engagement lead of the Solar System Exploration Division of NASA's Goddard Space Center. And so she's going to be talking about planetary science research and discoveries around the world that people have made. And she's the director of the International Observe the Moon Night. So I think she'll get into some fun science about, what we're learning and what they're studying as well during eclipses. And, just more, you can ask more questions to her if anything didn't get answered tonight. So I hope you come to that event. And thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks so much.